Hello, everybody. It's Becky McGarity again from Reformation Tours. I promised that I would continue the video and cover some of the places that we are going to see on our trip to Ireland and Scotland in 2022. When I last left you, we were horseback riding in Tramore, just outside of Waterford town. The next day that we travel from Waterford, we will be heading toward Blarney Castle, which sits on about 60 acres. Um, it's a medieval castle, and one of the things that people do when they are in Ireland is kiss the Blarney Stone. And I thought I'd give you a little bit of a preview of that. Supposedly, if you kiss the Blarney Stone, you will have the gift of gab, but it is a bit difficult. It's about 3 to 4 stories high, and you have to lean back into this grating and kiss a green stone while someone holds you to make sure that you don't fall. It's a little harrowing for some, but many people head to Ireland, and this particular attraction is top on the list. Now you can explore the grounds and the castle. It's very, very beautiful. After we leave Blarney that day, we will head toward the medieval city of Cork, which was expanded by the Vikings in about the 900s. Cork is a port city, and while there, we're going to get a tour of Cork and walk around some of the very narrow streets that are cobblestoned. We'll also take a little guided tour of the Franciscan Wells Brewery and have a sample tasting. Um, it's located on one of the keys. And then finally, we'll end our stay in port by heading to the English market. Cork is maybe the food capital of Ireland, and there's all kinds of things that you can get both English and Irish. From Cork, we'll head up that night to Killarney. Killarney is one of the #1 tourist destinations in Ireland. People go to Ireland to see the beauty of Killarney, the mountains, the lakes, the rugged landscape. And most people will take a trip to the Ring of Kerry or the Dingle Peninsula. The Ring of Kerry is a bit more crowded. The Dingle Peninsula is a little less crowded. We have kicked around doing both. I mean, choosing one or the other. But they're both beautiful in their own way, and a trip to Ireland is not complete without taking a tour of the peninsulas that are on the western coast. We will stay in a hotel that night that will allow some of the people who are interested in golfing to have around. After our trip to Killarney, we will head north toward Galway, and one of the places we will visit is the Cliffs of Moher. Now, the Cliffs of Moher are on the western coast, and they're a UNESCO heritage site. Many films are the cinematography is captured right here at the Cliffs of Moher. You can actually walk up to the edge of the cliff if you wish, and point your camera down at the ocean a few hundred feet below. It's harrowing sometimes because it gets rather windy at this particular place. Now, I just thought I'd throw you a picture. This is our tour guide here in the middle, our tour host, Terry McGee, and two of our friends standing at the Cliffs of Moher. This is closer to where the visitor center is, but you are more than welcome to walk up to the top where there are no ropes and you can look straight over. After the Cliffs of Moher, we'll head north to Galway through what's called the Burren. It kind of looks like a moonscape. It's very rocky and rugged. We will both go through and get out and walk around and go toward the ocean so that you can get a good picture of what this particular area looks like. And finally, we'll end up in Galway, which is also a western port town. Galway City, I believe, is one of the top 5 in population in the Republic of Ireland. It's an old city, but there's all kinds of markets and pubs and a lot of both recreational and entertainment activities that you could partake in while you're at Galway. The next morning we'll get up and we will take a ferry over to the Aran Islands. We're going to the main island, which has Dun Angus Castle or fort. You can go up and you can see some of the honeybee hives. You can also look at how it's situated as it looks over the ocean to make sure that it protects the main island of Ireland. And while we're there, many of us will take a trap ride, pony and trap ride around the island. You can also ride a bicycle if you wish. And I believe they have a few electric bikes if you don't fancy riding up a hill. After a night at Galway, and we will probably hit the pub for some sing-along, we will head north into Northern Ireland, which is a part of the United Kingdom, to Belfast, which on the entire island, Belfast is the second most populated. It is nearly 500,000 people. Belfast is famous for a lot of things, but a major claim to fame is that in Belfast, that is where the Titanic was built in 1913. So we will go down to, they have spent millions of pounds redoing the Titanic Quarter and bringing some of that history to life. So we will come to that area and take a tour of the Titanic Museum and see the dry dock where Titanic was housed until it went off to Southampton. This is a picture of the downtown area of Belfast and City Hall. It's a very old city, very scenic city. If you can look up here, I don't know if you can see my pointer, but they call that the mountain, and there's a particular area right up here they call Napoleon's Nose, and you can actually climb up to the top of it if you want a good stretch of the legs. Belfast is a city that is still to this day a divided city. You have over the years a lot of conflict. When Ireland was partitioned and in 1922, and Northern Ireland and the Republic became two different countries, in Belfast for a century there has been fighting between the two groups. The Catholics tend to support the United Ireland, right? The entire island for Ireland. They're called Republicans. They want the Republic of Ireland. And many Protestants, which make up the majority of Northern Ireland, they swear their allegiance to the King or Queen of England, whoever sits on the throne. As a result, there has been much infighting in this population, and we will take a trip to see, it's called the Peace Wall, which literally divides sections of the city to keep Catholics and Protestants separate. I'm sure that over the years, if you're older, you remember hearing about bombings and car bombs and shootings occurring in Northern Ireland. The Peace Wall still exists. If you visit Ireland today, there are remnants of that. You still have many people who are deeply divided. The sectarianism is clear and sometimes palpable. However, it is a place where the people who run the country understand that people want to see what their city is like, and they understand how important tourism is. And so probably in the last 15 to 20 years, many tourists are starting to come and see what sort of city it really is. You're not going to find any people more hospitable than those living in Belfast. And even though the Peace Wall still exists, you're having now schools that are mixed schools. Catholics and Protestants are going to school with each other, and many people think that this is just the beginning of bringing the two communities together. While we're touring around Belfast, you'll see lots of murals in honor of those people who, if you're Catholic and you support the Republic, many of those people felt like they died, in an actual war, for their rights and their freedom from the English government. And the government itself did discriminate against Catholics for a long time. They weren't allowed to vote. There were housing discriminatory laws and things of that nature. And so you'll see many murals both in the Protestant areas and the Catholic areas. Now, some of you will recognize this castle from the Game of Thrones. some people might be interested in taking a Game of Thrones tour, and it is something that you can do instead of going up the Antrim Coast with the rest of the group. You'll head up the Antrim Coast on the tour itself, but it will stop at Game of Thrones sites. I have talked to our tour guide, and he says he will take us to a few of those sites at the Antrim Coast as we go along. So some people will get Game of Thrones just by default. But one of the places that our Game of Thrones fans might enjoy, this is called the Dark Hedges, and if this were all dirt, it would be the King's Road. Whether you're on the Game of Thrones tour or just sticking with the regular tour of the Antrim Coast, you'll head up to the Carrick-a-Reed rope bridge. Now, this rope bridge is about 90 feet above the ocean. You cross it, and I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but it's netted, and it has like planks that go across from the main section. Years ago, my husband dropped a video camera off that bridge because it did not have the safety netting. It just had two ropes on the side and a plank of wood across. It was rather frightening. Today, you cross over to a small island where there's lots of puffins, and just sort of get a beautiful look at the ocean. On the other side, those people who are very interested in Game of Thrones, if you go back the other way, you can see where a lot of the Iron Islands scenes are filmed, and we'll take a look at them before we get on the bus. Our trip to the Antrim Coast really is heading toward this UNESCO site, UNESCO Heritage Site, and that is the Giant's Causeway. Nobody's quite for sure what these cylindrical rocks are, how they were formed, but they think the tubes were formed like they're volcanic rocks. They're all over the place. They head out into the ocean. There is a section of Scotland that has these rocks as well, so there's all sorts of myth, legend that the two areas actually connected at one point. It's called the Giant's Causeway because there is the story of the giant Finn McCool, who took on the Scottish giant Angus, and they built a causeway going from each country. And on a very clear day, you can look out and sometimes see Scotland. Finally, on that Antrim Coast trip, we'll end up at Bush Mills and do an Irish whiskey tour and have a tasting. So it'll be a nice way to end the day. When we get back to Belfast, we'll spend the night, and early the next morning, we'll head down to Dublin. On the way down, we'll stop at Causey Farms. Now, we went here in 2017, and it was an absolute hit with our travelers. This is a picture of us learning the bodhrán, the Irish drum. You can also learn to do an Irish jig, make soda bread, see how they herd sheep with a dog. It was rather interesting how this working farm sort of displayed all of these particular skills that you see throughout Ireland. And before we head into Dublin, we will stop at Newgrange. It's a site that's older than the pyramids. It too is a UNESCO Heritage Site. It's older than the pyramids. The people at Newgrange built these mounds. They were important in religious ceremony, and during the solstices, they have like a burial chamber where sunlight shines in and hits a particular stone that makes it look like in an altar bowl that it's filled with blood. And there's a lot of mystery. They're still figuring out the purpose of this particular site. But what I found to be totally interesting is the rocks that surround many of these mounds. And this is one of the biggest mounds, but when you travel to Newgrange, you'll see throughout multiple fields there are mounds all over the place. So those of us who live near St. Louis, we know Cahokia mounds. These are sort of mound building people as well. But what I found interesting is many of the rocks that are here, even though the site is older than the pyramids, they were brought from hundreds of miles away. And so it really is a mysterious place to visit. When we finish Newgrange, we will head to Dublin to get on the plane to fly to Edinburgh. Now, I will tell you, in Ireland, you'll have the crack. Just means you'll be able to gab, right, and enjoy yourself. I really believe that Ireland is a place that everybody needs to see. It's great to be able to see it with us the first time. And then many people, after they have an idea of what Ireland looks like and how the streets work and how the towns work, then they come back and take a visit, and do a self drive. And we absolutely challenge you to do that. This is Becky McGarity signing off. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I'll be adding another one on Scotland soon. Thank you so much, and we look forward to traveling with you.